All you guys are drooling over 2D anime girls while I'm over here like my dude. Have you seen anime food? Weebs need to get their goddamn priorities straight, because Food Wars is delicious. Succulent charcoal grilled meats, pickled plums, soups that transform like magical girls, and you still get an over-the-top dose of fan service for dessert. This, my friends, is Food Wars. This is the peak of stupid fun. Maybe don't watch it while your mom is around, anime, or do. It's really a personal call. Food Wars is a stereotypical shonen style battle anime, except instead of beating the snot out of your adversary, you serve a gourmet dish that outtastes your opponents. It's a melting pot of Iron Chef, high school anime, and unrestrained fan service, all mixed into one intoxicating 5-season series, while compiling a wealth of culinary knowledge on top of the drama of competitive cooking competitions. That is alliteration. It's ridiculous and fun, and maybe not the type of thing you would typically expect us to cover. We like working with the blood and the gore, the classics, or the deeper philosophical anime that have something under the surface for us to bring out. You know, a theme or a lesson to take home and think about. Food Wars just ended not so long ago, but that's the thing. Food Wars does have a deeper theme that not only intensely resonated with me, but made me push back some other videos so I could talk about this while it's fresh. Yes, it's a shonen to put on for mindless fun while you're eating dinner, but behind the boobs covered in hollandaise sauce and hot peppers that rip clothes apart, there is a very real understanding of what it feels like to toil through finding your own creative path. And to tell you the truth, it was something I really needed to see. So whether you're a wannabe chef, a weeb, or you just want to see foodgasms in all their rated M glory, this is for you. But with it comes a takeaway on how to look at creativity and your creative endeavors in an entirely different light. This is Food Wars. Let's get into it. Today, I got only one thing to ask you to care about. This channel, Bonsai Pop. It's been nearly 5 months since we last talked about the channel, and for anyone who doesn't know, we do not make our living from YouTube. Bonsai Pop only works because we are a Patreon-driven channel. Our Patreon community is amazing, the best on the internet. It is filled with so many people that I'm happy to call my friends. We do lots of events and try to be exceptionally active and engaged with our community there. So if you want to see the entire second half of the Bonsai Pop experience you've been missing, consider checking the Patreon out, link in the description. Now let's get on with the video. So here's the basics. Totsuki, a top culinary school of Japan, has a graduation rate of less than 10%. Students get flunked left and right. It's like if Gordon Ramsay made a cooking school into a show. It's this intense, high-stakes educational establishment. Only the best of the best chefs rise to the top, winning their place on Totsuki's Council of 10, the 10 top chefs currently employed who rule over the school's curriculum and student body. They have the power to overrule any other governing board at Totsuki, including the director. And the chefs that are driven to rise up from their peers and become one of these 10 elite must challenge one of the current 10 to a food war. Now, besides sounding ridiculous, Food Wars are a contest of culinary creativity and talent wherein a panel of judges give their verdicts on dishes presented by each chef to decide a winner, proving which chef is better and who deserves a seat on the 10. However, an Elite 10 member doesn't just battle for their seat willy-nilly, okay? The challenger has to offer an equal reward, like giving up cooking entirely, or giving up their entire school club, or something else that they might actually want. It's a high-risk, high-reward battle, hence most students just hiding and ogling the Council of 10 from a safe distance. Keyword there being most students. Enter Soma Yukihira, a fiery, hot-headed, rash shonen protagonist with a chip on his shoulder and something to prove. Crazy hair and all, and when you think of generic, this dude fits every part of that bill, except he wears an apron, and this is a show mostly about cooking. Now, most students come from cooking empire families, like think the Kennedys, but, you know, even more meat production, if you know what I mean. Soma's entire background revolves around a rinky-dink hole-in-the-wall diner where he and his father serve up some good eats to their regulars. However, they also battle each other, frequently competing in cooking competitions to see who is the better chef. And Soma's lost nearly 500 times, which either means he's a cook or his dad is actually a top-of-the-line culinary master. Turns out it's the second one. And when Soma confirms that his plans for the future are to become a chef and take over the family diner, his dad sends Soma to his alma mater, Totsuki, because you gotta suffer for your art. one way or another, right? Now, Totsuki is run by the Nakari family, and Nakari has held the title of director since the institution's founding. Currently, Erina Nakari, the granddaughter of the director, is in her first year at the school. She also possesses the world's first culinary superpower, the God Tongue. It basically just means she can taste real good, like super duper good. Like she can taste that you used that egg from that chicken in Iowa named Charlotte, which was sitting in the grocery outlet for 13 days before being put on the half-off shelf where you bought it. And while there's a billion characters, and at least a handful are of actual importance throughout the show, Erina and Soma's relationship is the core of the entire series. And by relationship, I mean Erina hates and doesn't understand Soma at all, whereas Soma is on a quest to make Erina call his food delicious since she gave his entry dish to Totsuki the raving review of disgusting. And it's this relationship I really want to focus on because they represent two opposing views of the arts and creative endeavors as a whole. Erina is like the classically trained violinist playing in crowds of snotty white people, all in formal dress wear and discussing how she perfectly accentuated the articulation of the appoggiatura. Post-bridge con sordino, followed by flawless senza sordino. You know what I'm talking about. Erina was raised in a gourmet culinary family where her taste buds were coddled and refined. Since the day she was born, she literally ate with silver spoons. Now, Soma, on the other hand, is kind of like the saxophonist in an underground jazz club. He plays with unconventional ideas, brings in unique and spontaneous ingredients that most would assume to be completely incompatible, only to scat out an unexpectedly harmonious melody of taste and aroma. It's like pitting Led Zeppelin against Devo. Both are masters of art, but to call them artists of the same type almost seems wrong, yet they are. Both Erina and Soma are chefs, but of entirely different breeds and backgrounds. Erina's dishes focus on refinement, understanding the ideas of gourmet food, and perfectly aligning with their rigid definitions. She is a master of the pairing tastes to create classical styles of cuisine. Making something French, understanding how to correctly interweave flambéing, sautéing, julienning, and brunoise is essential, and Erina can flawlessly navigate and fuse these techniques together to create something classically exceptional that will undoubtedly excite a refined palate. Now, Soma's style of cooking involves taking chances. He relies on exploring the unknown. Bravery, ingenuity, and unconventionalism drive his cooking. He'll take opposing ideas of cuisine and combine them into something miraculously delicious despite their apparent rejection of cooking rules. They're effectively two sides of the same skill, each a master of their half, but desperately attempting to decode what makes the other tick. And it's in this fracture of creative understanding that I first fell in love with Food Wars. Not gonna lie, Peanut Butter Squid was pretty cool, but honestly, when it came to this, I felt a little represented, right? I'm not trained in anything. There's no degree for YouTube. I've taken no creative writing courses. I've never had a video, film, or editing class. I'm just a self-taught nobody with an unconventional idea. Use anime to talk about greater ideas and lessons that might be hard to breach in a normal conversation, and use the story and themes of a show to find deeper understanding. I guess I make art, but I've never considered myself an artist. What I do is the other side of the same skill set used in TVs, movies, and I don't know, plays or something. Soma's path of learning how to refine his unconventionalism while still keeping his identity within his cooking speaks to me because I can see the same roughness around the edges in my work, you know, compared to the classical equivalent, you know, like a Spielberg film. Or maybe it's closer to like I Love the 80s. Either way, besides Soma and Erina, every one of the students in the cast is doing all they can to just stay in the school and excel at what they love. They're struggling to understand who they are and why they're doing what they do, and this is a very high school kind of idea, but it's also something that continues throughout the rest of your life. For instance, Megumi Torokoro is just a small town girl with a dream of cooking, but she doesn't have that tenacity to survive Totsuki or the confidence in herself to create something that she really enjoys. She has horrible imposter syndrome. She lies to her parents about school and fully believes it's only a matter of time until she flunks out. It's only when Soma's schooling is on the line too that she comes alive and finds her inner style of cooking, nurturing cooking. Food that fully takes the diner into consideration, what they're going through, how they're feeling, what they need right now. She needed someone to show her a reason for cooking, and she found it in Soma. And basically so does everybody else. But creativity isn't completely derived from the self. It's an extension of the world around us, and more importantly, the people around us. We can only bring so much to the table ourselves, but exploring the world, creating bonds with others, and finding inspiration within those bonds allows us to create something beyond what we'd otherwise be capable of. Creativity grows as your world expands and your emotions find home in others and in understanding. Caring breeds creativity, and every one of these young chefs is on a path to understand what, and more importantly, who they care about. And honestly, this is just like the surface, the wrapping of what Food Wars has to say on creativity in the arts and the show itself. Soma and Erina are first years at Totsuki, but as they progress through the year more and more, details come out about Jochiro, Soma's dad, and his journey through Totsuki Academy. He was the top chef there during his time, willing to take on anyone, anytime in a food war for the sheer joy of competitive cooking, but he was so good that no one could ever beat him. He bested 50 chefs at once, and after that, no one was even willing to challenge him anymore. Jochiro was reaching greatness and achieving success that only the top chefs in the world can find, but with each new dish, each food war or competition won, the people tasting his food told him they were now looking forward to whatever he made next. It became this constant need to top himself over and over, the mounting pressure to innovate, to reinvent yourself over and over into something better or more expansive than you already are. Let me tell you from personal experience, that push to improve your work in a creative field is beyond draining. It is an unending task that pushes you to your limits. Strive beyond what you are and become something more, something better. Surprise us, wow us, impress us. You made your best dish yet? I can't wait to see what you make next. You published your best video ever? I can't wait to see what you do for the next one. Climb one more stair, reach a little higher, polish your craft a bit more. It is a relentless existence of striving towards an impossible amount of achievement. And honestly, it's something that's constantly on my mind. It's the one thought that really keeps me up at night more than anything else. How do I keep going and making something of greater value? How do I even know when I've made something worthy of showing people? I've made hundreds of videos. I've forgotten more scripts than I can even remember. How can I possibly know what the next step is when I've already climbed so many? It's a destructive and paralyzing experience, honestly. How do I know what to do next? Have I already hit my peak? I don't know. This inner struggle within the characters of Food War works in any creative field. It's an unending wasteland, right? Every horizon covered by another mound of sand to traverse, and Jochiro pushed through this sandstorm, continuing forward, owning his craft. One more step, one more dish, 1 foot closer to perfection. But to what end? Is there an end to any creative endeavor? Is there a final goal? And how do you keep pushing when there's really no end in sight? How do you keep motivated to improve or even find new ways to improve when the sandstorm around you continues to get thicker and thicker with each step, making it harder to move and see? The closer you come to perfecting anything, the farther away you get, the harder it becomes to make headways towards this perfection. Think about any video game with a leveling system, right? The first levels are easy, you get better immediately because you suck so much ass at the beginning, but that grind from level 90 to 100, that's the wasteland. In the real world, we don't get a system that tells us when we max out our experience. There's no telling when you've hit your peak, when you've perfected what you do, or when you've hit your own personal max. For Jochiro, the pressure from his patrons was always on his next dish. You made something transcending every definition of delicious and tantalized the taste buds in a way never thought possible. Can't wait to see what you do next. Eventually, the pressure to improve without any guidance or knowing if there was an end to this wasteland became too much for Jochiro. In the end, you need a reason to improve. There has to be a reason to create. And what am I trying to prove with this next new dish? Why am I still moving forward? What is the reason I try harder? Without one, you eventually just stop. And that's what happened to Jochiro. I'm sure you've seen it happen a lot in real life too, right? Bands that you thought were the best just break up, stop playing. Your favorite content creator just stops posting. Jochiro lost the spark that anyone in a creative sphere needs to keep making new things. He lost the enjoyment of cooking. He lost what made being a chef fun, and without that, creativity dies and passion fades. It's impossible to keep creating something when you lose your reason, because instead of pulling from inspiration, at that point, you're just draining your soul. And I've been there. It's enough to make you hate yourself and make you hate what you make, want to burn it all down, just to have a reason to stop. It wasn't until Jochiro found something he fell in love with, had Soma, and made a family that he found the love for cooking again. Soma's determination to become a better chef than his father inspired Jochiro to pick the spatula back up and wander once again through the wasteland. And this story is kind of the core of Food War's lesson. Creativity is not a solo sport. No matter who you are, you need others to give meaning to what you make. You can only go so far on your own, but with support and meaning behind your work comes motivation, determination, and drive to go further. Erina and Soma's relationship fully expands on the need for someone else to fuel creative drive. While Soma's free-spirited impromptu cooking style reflects his think-outside-the-box personality and upbringing, and of course, the freewheeling f***you attitude Shonen Jump thinks every young boy gets a boner for, Erina's rigid adherence to the rules of cooking reflects the trauma and brainwashing of her early years. Her father, Azami Nakiri, kept her sheltered and isolated, training her to eventually take over the culinary world with her god tongue's divine tasting powers. She's commissioned to taste the best dishes in the world and tell their chefs what's wrong with them, and if something tastes off, it is disgusting, trash, awful, not worthy of the title gourmet. Azami drilled this into her over and over, shaping her mind and destroying any semblance of creative thought and enjoyment of food that she had. His training created a vacuum in Erina where she lacked any passion towards cooking itself. Instead of art, it is a very exact, specific science. And anyone who's worked in the food industries knows that you need to have passion and love for your craft to survive. Most people burn out in the industry within a couple years. Been there myself, hated it. Erina only cooks because she is an Akari, because she has the god tongue. There's no deeper meaning behind it for her, and in a sense, that same wasteland that bested Jochiro took Erina before she even had a chance to stand on her own 2 feet. Yet both Erina and Jochiro find the strength to get back up and continue pushing through the sand, and that strength, of course, comes from Soma. So what does Soma have that these two didn't, besides plot armor? What keeps him from going forward to get better without feeling the pressure of the wasteland? At first I didn't really understand it, and I just chalked it up to typical shonen protagonist enthusiasm, the power of friendship or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. But then it started to click. It's a theme that is aggressively pushed from season 1 all the way through to the very end of the show. Soma is never cooking for himself. Each and every dish he makes is for somebody else. It's to show them something, to prove something to someone. In a sense, every dish he makes is inspired by a muse. And that keeps his motivation topped off higher than anyone else. The more I thought about it, the more I realized this happens over and over again. During the fall selection finals, it's Ryu versus Akira versus Soma. Akira wins, but he doesn't win because he's trying to be the best or prove he's top of the first years. He wins because he's cooking for Jun, his muse, the one and only person he cares about. He's cooking for her, and he's able to make his first specialty dish that truly is something only he's capable of because of it. Jochiro is able to find love for cooking again because he found someone he wanted to cook for, his wife, and eventually his son. All 500 of Jochiro and Soma's food battles were to show something to Soma, push him to get better, and when Soma beats Akira as the new seat on Central during the bear meat battle, Soma gets furious with Akira afterwards because he wanted to beat Akira at his best. Akira was only cooking to win, he had no one he was cooking for, no muse, whereas Soma was cooking for Akira to prove that his dish was delicious. Every major character in this show is cooking to find their inner reasoning for who they are. For some, like Soma, it's easy, and for others, like Erina, it takes her entire journey to understand the real reason for why she cooks. Every dish teaches something about the creator, who they were thinking of, why they made what they did. There's metaphors and purpose behind each dish that they make. Each competition is a test of how far they've come in understanding their own purpose for cooking at all, and seeing if they realize the meaning behind who they are at the chef's table, in their element. In truth, Food Wars is an anime about finding yourself through your art and becoming who you want to be. It's a struggle to find an identity that's constantly shadowed through the sandstorm of the art world. Maybe it's just over the horizon, but you'll have to keep pushing forward to find out. By the end of the series, it becomes clear that throughout their entire time at Totsuki, Soma has constantly been cooking to make Erina say his food is delicious. Her approval of his cooking has been one of the primary driving forces to his success, and each battle he takes is a stepping stone on his journey to her acceptance. Erina and all Nakiri family members that have possessed the god tongue eventually fall into despair because food will never taste right for them. There will always be a missing aspect, an ingredient used too little or too much. And I've been there. When you can always see the wrong in something, it becomes increasingly harder to enjoy it. That's why we don't review anime like we used to review video games. Being a critic is no fun. It's easy at first when you enjoy something, but after a while that thing you enjoyed becomes your job and nothing is ever good enough. Erina was never able to create a dish her mother enjoyed. Her mother also possesses the god tongue, and with the realization that nothing will ever be good enough, Erina starts to fall into despair as well. But Soma is able to snap her out of it, convince her to cook for her mother again, and in the end, Erina creates something so exceptional and beyond the world of deliciousness that they knew, it wins her mother over too. And right there is a parallel of relationships between Soma and Erina versus Erina and her mother. How do I get them to say, it's delicious? That one goal almost broke Erina, but it invigorates and fires up Soma. It's a challenge. It gives him a reason to keep getting stronger. It gives him a goal to achieve, a place to find in the wasteland. And with a renewed perspective on her cooking, Erina found herself in the same place as Soma, with a reason to keep getting better and a person to cook for, her ma. Soma showed her that cooking can be fun. Just like most art can be fun. But the fun is achieving and stepping past your own goals. You don't pick up guitar because you want to learn to play guitar. You pick up guitar because you want to learn how to play a song. It's not about what makes the most sense, but about making something unknown and never tried before. It's about reaching for something beyond the obvious flavors and trying something new for the sake of exploration, passion, and enjoyment. But most of all, it's about the face of the person you're feeding. It's about seeing the joy and excitement and happiness in that first bite of something that you made for them. If they love it, you've succeeded. If they don't, you have your motivation to take another step in the storm. Now, I've been creating for a long time, and that's mostly because I'm a disagreeable anti-establishment shithead who gets fired from every job he ever worked for fun. This is really the only thing that I'm cut out for. And that's something that I've always known. Music, scripts, videos, more, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I might be in the roughest patch that I've ever been in. Writing is super hard. Finding the words is difficult. Getting the strength to edit is almost impossible right now. So I decided to take some time to watch something fun and stupid. So I put on Food Wars. And somehow, in some way, this utterly insane show about food ripping people's clothes off actually helped heal me a little bit. It reminded me that I don't only make these videos for myself, and that I don't say the things that I say in these videos just for myself. I make them for you guys as well. I make videos so that you can have an escape after work. I make them so that you can get away from your life for a little bit, whatever horrible political situation we're in week to week. I make them to, help inspire you to be your best, to find yourself, and to be happy. The past couple of years have been pretty rough, and I would say that they've sucked a lot of that drive out. And I can't say that it's all back. It's definitely still a struggle, but I'm always trying my best, But Food Wars gave me a little bit of hope in a time when I definitely needed it the most. And I'm glad I got a bunch of weird nerds to be my muse, my femme, my flame, for giving me a reason to create and helping me to get back up and continue that walk through the wasteland. To continue to get cross game done. I don't know why this video is the script is taking me so long. But hey, that's the process. And maybe you've watched Food Wars, maybe you haven't, but honestly, we really haven't spoiled it. So while I'm getting back up on my feet, maybe check it out. And if you need to get back up on your feet, maybe watch it again. Anyway, that's all from me this week. We'll be back as soon as possible. I'd like to thank our lucky patron of the week, the Sasquatch, and our high tier patron of the week, Omni Mecha, who has gone to the Hot Spring Honey. Oh my god. But yeah, if you're new, check out another video. If you like it, subscribe then. Otherwise, I'm Mike. This is Bonsai Pop. Take care of yourself. See you next time. Thanks for watching.